Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdurrahman. I'm the president of MuslimPreMeds. It's really great to have you all here today, alhamdulillah. We've been putting a lot of work in for this event, and it's great to have, everybody here, whether you're here to come gain some knowledge or to come share some knowledge as one of the panelists, or you're just one of the board members that helped put this event together. I'm very grateful for all of you guys. Inshallah, looking forward to having a great evening and a great event. So today, Muslim Pre-Meds is presenting the MCAT 101 Bootcamp. So this event is designed to give students an inside look at the MCAT preparation through advice and personal experiences from current medical students and also others who have just taken the MCAT recently. Um, so going into what the event is going to be about, our agenda. So first, we'll dive into what exactly MPM is, what is Muslim Pre-Meds. Then just so everybody can sort of feel more comfortable and get acquainted with each other, we're going to have some icebreakers. Then the panelists are going to go ahead and introduce themselves. And then we'll go over what the MCAT is, have a little discussion with our panelists, including a Q&A with the audience. And then we're going to have specific breakout rooms with each of the panelists so you can have some more personalized investigation and discussion with some of the panelists. So we can go ahead and get started with number one. What is Muslim Pre-Meds? So Muslim Pre-Meds is an organization that I started in May 2025. So it's a pretty young organization. It's a national nonprofit. And our mission and vision. So our mission is to have a community of Muslims across the country who are all interested in pursuing careers in health. And basically we want to foster an environment where we help build each other up, right? Because, getting to where we want to get is not an easy journey, but we know that through hard work and dedication, we can do anything we want to do and through the help of Allah Azza wa Jal. And so making sure that we keep each other on Sirat al-Mustaqim, make sure that we're doing everything with the right intention and doing it together and learning from one another, whether we're making mistakes or doing something properly. I just wanted to sort of make a community where we can make it easier for each other, right? Because everybody knows that it's not easy to become a doctor. And whether you're in med school, you're in high school, you're in college, just whatever level you're at, helping the people that are entering your level or even at the same level as you, I thought having an organization like this was something that we all really, really needed. And alhamdulillah, it's been going great. And inshallah, I look forward to the organization growing and to continue meeting new people and networking and inshallah having us all succeed in life. Um, yeah, so we can go ahead now and go on to the next part. So thank you guys
Hey,
so much.
Assalamu
And
alaikum,
now I'm going to hand
everyone.
it over to Hadia.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Hadia. I am the event planning lead for MPN. First off, I would like to thank all of our panelists for coming. Thank you guys for your time, despite your busy schedules. So to start off, I think let's just do a few icebreakers just to get to know each other. What has been the most favorite class you have taken so far? This could be, elementary, middle, high school, undergrad, whatever you want. Abdul, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. I'd say the favorite class that I've taken so far. Um, I'll go for one that I've taken in college. Um, I'd say I'd say Arabic. I wasn't able to pursue that language in the high school I went to just because there wasn't. I was the only Arab kid in my high school, and I think it was much more than just taking the class, but it was about the people I was taking the class with. It was like the first time I was really able to connect with other people and also connect with my teacher on sort of a cultural level, while also being able to, improve my speaking skills that I have now translated into how I can talk with my family back home and also just my dad. So it's things like that. So I think it's done a lot more for me than just learning the language, but also like connecting me more to my culture and also to a whole other part of the world. So I'd say Arabic.
Hey, thank you. That was actually a very thoughtful response. Okay. If any of our panelists or any of our members would like to share, please feel free. If any of you guys are not comfortable, you guys can also just throw it in the chat as well.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, guys. My name is Eunice. Before I give my answer to the first question, who here is a fan of sports? Let's get a raise of hands. Come on, guys, raise your hands. There's a Zoom option on here. You guys are. There we go. We got a few hands. All right. I'll get into this a little later, but I am a kinesiology major, and one of the classes I've taken was an elective, but it was basically the best class I've taken in my undergrad career, and it is sport and exercise injury management. So you learn a lot about different sport injuries and whatnot, and how to manage them, different tests to conduct, to see, range of motion and whatnot. You even get to learn how to ankle tape. So it was a pretty fun class.
Okay,
I think I'll add one in. So this is actually a class I took in high school, and it was through a like Islamic school, so I took Islamic studies. And what made that class different, honestly, was the teacher. So he was pretty young, and the topics that he discussed were very relevant to us, and we were able to ask questions that we usually aren't able to. So that's mine.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. My favorite class I took it was in my sophomore year of college. It was called BioBridge. I don't know if any other schools have it, but it's particular to GGC. And we got to conduct our own independent research on like antioxidants, so that was pretty cool. It was like one of my favorite classes.
I can go next. I think one of my favorite classes that I've took, and I come from a, or maybe I can start from the start. So my name is Selma, and I'm a first year medical student here in Canada. And I come from a non-traditional background, so I took business, I did business school before med school. And my favorite class of all time has been a strategy consulting class where we learned about some of the main big corporation strategies. A big nerd, so learning about some of the ways that people think about like putting out a new product, a new thing was very interesting for me. So yeah, that was my favorite class by far.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Fuad Izdani. Similar to Salma, too, I was a consultant before as well. So I think my favorite classes definitely were my business classes. I think more specifically, I would say either between my accounting classes or my business development classes were pretty good. So I was always in between that and medicine. And I think that class gave me a better perspective. I think it gave me a good background in medicine to understand the other sides of medicine, the financial sides of medicine. So I did that. So now in medical school, of course, second year. So yeah.
Anyone else? If not, we can move on to the next question.
Yo,
Okay, so if
assalamu
you could,
alaikum, everybody. My name is Rayan. I'm one of the sophomores here at UIC, same school as Eunice. And I would have to say one of my favorite classes that I've taken here so far has to be anatomy and physiology. I actually took it in high school as a dual credit class that transferred over to my college. And I just loved it because even though there's a lot of memorization, you can actually apply that in ways that you can ever think of. And I finally kind of found ways to apply that here in college. And I just think it's a very nice subject that you can use, especially since we're all pre-med.
okay, thank you, Ryan. Anyone
That's a good
else
answer,
or
Aaron. Thank you.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, did I hear anyone or am I like okay, let's go ahead. So if you could shadow any specialty for one day, which one would you pick or which one have you done? Hannah, why don't you start us off?
If I could pick any specialty to shadow, I would definitely say a trauma surgeon. Just like I feel like I've shadowed many surgeons over the past like couple of this like whole entire year, but I just want to like see the kind of like their day in a life, like low key just be with them 24/7, seeing the stress. Yeah.
This is making me smile because I got the opportunity like not too long ago to shadow like a surgeon. I spent the day with an orthopedic surgeon and it was a really, really cool day. Like they kept like jumping from a case to another. Like we also had like a Grey's Anatomy moment where the surgeon was operating and then someone came into the operating room and was like, "We need you in the other room. You have to come." And yeah, so getting to spend the day and seeing like all of the hectic parts of surgery was definitely fun. But if there was another specialty that I would really, really like to shadow in the future, inshallah, it would be OB-GYN. I really like women's health in general. And so, yeah, I feel like it would be a good specialty to shadow.
As someone who shadowed OB-GYN Senma, like I would say it's hella fun. Like it's really fun. It's like just seeing both like I feel like with most surgeons, when I shadow them, I only either see the clinical side when they're rotating, or I only see when they're doing procedures because the procedures are so long. But with like OB-GYN, like it's a full day of just like, skipping around doing random things. It's super cool.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll keep it in mind.
Salma, I swear I'm not copying you, but same thing with orthopedic surgery as well. It's one of my favorite fields right now to shadow as well, and it's one of my top choices right now because the coolest thing about orthopedic surgery is that you're able to go inside and go do this operation. For example, a total knee arthroplasty is where you do a procedure on the knee and you're able to fix that patient and let them have mobility again, where they can move their legs, move their knee again. So, I mean, I think that's an amazing thing in medicine where you could fix someone like that and get the immediate gratification. So, orthopedic surgery is something that I've been enjoying shadowing, and so far it's been growing on me. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna kind of change the route a little bit. Orthopedic surgery is amazing. I love orthopedic surgery. However, the one I'm shadowing a transplant surgeon right now quite often, and it's a very, very demanding field, that's for sure. But along with that demanding field, the results you get are also just as amazing because, for example, the surgeon that I shadow right now, he specifically specializes in kidney and liver transplants. So these patients that come in, they're very, very sick, and he gives them basically a second shot at life. And that, again, similar to what Fuad said, it's amazing that medicine can really do that, especially surgery. How you get that again instant gratification, and you kind of give that patient a second shot at life, which they never thought that they would have.
A random question, Ryan, but have you been on a helicopter?
Okay, so I work with the transplant surgeon in the OR, so I don't really do helicopter. Although I would love to do that, but maybe one day, inshallah.
I want to add, so I wasn't shadowing, but I was on clinical shifts because I was training to be an EMT, and I got close to a helicopter because they were bringing in a patient to do an ECMO procedure, which is basically like past CPR. They'll funnel all the blood out of the heart through a machine and oxygenate it. So it was close to a helicopter, but I wasn't in it. But it's okay.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, guys, I think let's move on to the next one. So, what's one Islamic reminder you wish you heard more often as a student?
I could get started with this one. I think one important Islamic thing is keeping with your prayers. That's the number one thing you could do in medical school is especially is like keeping with your prayers, your Friday prayers. Those are one of the most important things you can do. I think that's something that, you struggle with when you come into medical school and you have this crazy schedule, but there's so much barakah and you realize like it's very hard for me to even show this, but like my grades improved when I was probably waking up for Fajr Salah, when I was getting my Isha Salah and getting all my prayers in. That's number one thing that you want to do because everything comes from Allah and you gotta remember that at the end of the day is like everything comes from that and you got to make sure that you're on your things because when you do that and you get back on track, I promise your grades improve. So I think that's something that I think everybody should know when you enter medical school is to maintain that, maintain your prayers and always keep yourself motivated with Islam. So yeah.
That was a really good answer, Fred. I think shifting from that, I mean, as future pre-med students or pre-med students or even medical students, you're always overwhelmed with all of this information and all of this content. And subhanAllah, a reminder that comes to my head is where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, "بلغوا عني ولو آية," that reminding, speak of me, even if it is one ayah. So as we gather all of this knowledge, all this information, I mean, Islamic or science knowledge or whatever the case may be, always try to inform someone, always try to teach someone. First and foremost, that would help yourself. You would actually keep, practicing this information. You'll grasp it 100%. And also, you're informing everyone else, you're teaching everyone else, whether it is about Islam, whether it is about science, whether it is about sports, whatever the case may be, whatever knowledge you have, always share it.
Assalamualaikum
I can go
everyone.
next.
Oh,
You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
are you sure? Okay. Well, I was just gonna add to what the first person, sorry, I forgot your name, said.
I don't know. Are you still with Mrs. Pet?
Sorry. Oh, going back to what the previous speaker said about Salah, I think like especially in undergrad, I was somebody who struggled with like keeping up with Salah. So I think piece of advice that my dad actually gave me was not planning your Salah around your day, but planning your day around Salah. And I think like going through undergrad and like even working like corporate 9 to 5 and like I would assume going into med school, like routine is important. And I think once you master planning your day around your salah, you are able to create that routine. And like the previous person said, like everything comes from salah. So I think that's a really important Islamic reminder that has so many rewards hidden behind it that a lot of us don't notice until we actually strive to like practice doing that. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for your response. If no one else has to go or no one else has something that's coming to the top of their mind, I think we can move on. Okay, Hannah, let's move on. Okay, so now for the main part. So please let's start introducing our panelists. Minahil, if you can start.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Menahil. I'm a senior at UMass Amherst, and I did my high school from Pakistan, and then I came to the US for my undergrad. And I took the MCAT this summer, and actually retook it this summer. I also took it during the semester, which I'm going to share later. But the summer was the best experience.
Okay, thank you. Eunice, you're next.
So, once more, everyone. My name is Yunus. I'm a fourth year kinesiology student. If you don't know what kinesiology is, it is the study of human movement, or in simple terms, it's like exercise science, sports medicine, whatever you like to call it. Fun fact about me is I also go to UIC with Ryan, and I see 2 or 3 other UIC students in here. Shout out Hassan and Sayed as well. Um, Other than that, I work as a lead medical assistant at an internal medicine urgent care clinic, which serves primarily Muslim population of patients. And let's just say internal medicine can be fun and boring at the same time. Take that as you please.
Okay, thank you. Fuad, you're next.
Slam everyone. I know I just mentioned it earlier, but I'm a second year medical student at Central Michigan College of Medicine. I went to Wayne State University for my undergrad. I did a degree in public health and I did business as well. And I worked a few years in consulting, kind of worked in my senior year plus my gap year. Worked in consulting and now alhamdulillah, I'm in medical school. And yeah, so interested in orthopedic surgery, but yeah, looking forward to talking to you all, you guys. Yep.
Hey, Salma.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I think I started talking about myself a little bit earlier, but my name is Selma, and I just started med school here in Canada at the University of Sherbrooke. And I graduated from my undergrad in accounting, and so I had a very non-traditional pathway to medicine. But as Fuad, I started my career as a strategy consultant before deciding that I wanted to go into medicine. And last year I took my MCAT. And yeah, I did it in the summer before the year where I started medicine. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then Mohammed, you're last.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mohammed Badawi, a third year medical student at University of New Mexico here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I did my undergrad in New Mexico State in chemical engineering and microbiology, so it was kind of non-traditional in some way. Originally from Egypt, and on WhatsApp I'm the Egyptian flag. I'm the one who has the MCAT folder, so if you ever need that, let me know. Yeah, and I took the MCAT the summer before medical school.
Okay, thank you. Now I think let's move on to the next section, Hannah. Okay, so Isha, time for you to take it over.
Yeah, of course. All right, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Isha. I am a current second year at Missouri Southern. It's a 7-year medical program in Missouri, and I am part of the MPM board as well. So very glad to see you guys all here, and hopefully we can all take something beneficial from this today, inshallah. So we're just going to be taking 10 minutes now to break down the MCAT and exactly what it is, how it's scored, how students can best prepare, what's on it, and what the format is. So the MCAT is short for the Medical College Admissions Test, and it's a standardized 7.5 hour exam. It's required by most US and Canadian medical schools. It's not just the content of the test, it's also testing how you think, how your basically your reading comprehension, the way that you analyze passages, and how you reason through unfamiliar scenarios. And that's exactly what you're going to need in medical school. So looking at the structure, there's 4 sections, and this is the order. You start with chemistry and physics, and that's 95 minutes. That includes 59 questions, and it tests general chemistry, physics, and organic. And this is a section that's very, very passage-based. So you basically read the passage. It's usually some kind of experiment. I think our mentors can elaborate on that. But you basically look at the passage, and there's going to be questions that require you to analyze that. The second passage is the CARS passage, the critical analysis and reasoning skills. It's 90 minutes with 53 questions. The passages are mostly from humanities and social sciences. I honestly took a workshop a couple weeks ago, and I had some mentors say that one of them got only art, one of them got only humanities, so it's kind of a mixed bag. You have no outside knowledge that's allowed, obviously, so it's mainly like reasoning and logic. You don't really know what they're going to put in front of you, so it's mainly like reading comprehension. For a lot of students, this is the hardest because it really requires you to use those critical thinking skills. Third section is biology and biochemistry, and that's also 95 minutes with 59 questions. It's very, very heavy on content, so molecular biology, cells, genetics, physiology, metabolism. Biochemistry is really, really huge here, including the main topic is enzyme kinetics and pathways. So any professors that you have that focus on those topics are very, very helpful. I know that my own professor in molecular, she focuses a lot on these topics because she knows they're covered on the MCAT. The fourth section is the psychology and sociology section, again, 95 minutes. It also has 59 questions. This one is mainly on the social sciences, so psychology, sociology, behavior, looking at demographics, looking at research methods as well. So this is the highest scoring section usually for students because you're mainly just looking to memorize topics and kind of recognize them on the exam. All right, so now that you've heard about all 4 sections, let's look at how it's actually scored. So each section is scored from between a 118 to 132, with 125 being the rough average. Usually add them up and you'll get a total score that's ranging from about 472 to 528 is the max. A competitive score really depends on what school you're looking at. So it's usually in the 510, 520 range, I think is about like the top 10% of test takers, so that's pretty nice. So general prep advice, so before our panelists kind of give some specific things, obviously start early. You want to start at least 3 to 6 months early. I think that every person, from what I've noticed, has their own kind of schedule. So I think people who are usually better at pacing, they start earlier. If usually there's some students who are better at that pressure, like that crunch time, they usually use a shorter amount of time. So even busy students can build some kind of plan around their schedule, I think, based on yourself and your study habits. So schedules are usually going to vary, but generally it's content review first. So you're reviewing all the major contents in all the 4 sections that I mentioned. You're going to transition to practice after that. So personally for me, the advice that I've seen is that you should look at practice questions along with your content review. We can hear more from the panelists soon. The full-length exams are usually the heart of the MCAT preparation, and you should leave those very crucial AAMC resources for last because they're most representative of what you're actually going to see on the exam. Because it's 7.5 hours, obviously length is a big issue. So I think building the stamina is definitely an important part. Learning from your mistakes, obviously. So making sure that when you review exams, you kind of go through them and really understand why you got that question wrong or why you guessed right on that question. Another thing, treat it like you're training for a marathon. Again, build stamina by doing those full-length passages and doing timed passage questions. And final thing, and this kind of course, brings in, Islam in our habits. Protect your own mental health as well. So make sure that you build a plan that's achievable for you, so that you can rest, you can still sleep, you still have your life that's going on, your faith, obviously. So kind of, breaking that balance, I think, is really, really important. That's it for me. Thank you guys. I hope that for anyone who was really kind of unfamiliar with any section, this kind of helped.
Okay, thank you, Aisha. I know many of you may already know about the structure and format of the MCAT, but I just felt like it was important. So those of us who may not know can also know when we're all on the same page. Now moving on, I have a few questions prepped for our panelists. So if you guys can please each take a turn to answer them. And then after that, we can open it up for the chat and then we can have more of a Q&A style format. So to start off, I wanted to ask, what was the biggest thing that aided in your success? And I'll put it in the chat as well.
I can answer this one. For me, the U-word practice questions were the most helpful. So like doing questions and then as Isha mentioned before, like reviewing them, even if you got them right or like you got them wrong. So that was, I think, the most important part for me.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I think one of the biggest things that helped me get my success with my MCAT was definitely structure. I took a class as well. I think I reached a point where I wanted to take a class, so I got that structure from a class, and I think it was worth the investment because students a lot of times, especially in college, you have a very kind of an unorganized schedule as well a little bit because you have classes at 4 p.m., 2 p.m. It's all scattered throughout the day. So when you have a schedule and taking a course or stuff like that, kind of gives you that structure. So I think that's something that helped me and with my MCAT score for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
in addition to all the, resources and practice questions available, I think something that's very underrated and not very heavily focused on is making sure that you are disciplined and you are consistent with your studying. I remember when I started out, did forget to mention my intro. I took my MCAT in June, so just a few months ago. Um, when I first started, I had this plan going into winter break that, I'm going to lock in. I have 4 weeks off. I'm going to do all this. Lo and behold, I studied for like 3 days. So that was a big fail in the beginning. But alhamdulillah, I was able to, put myself back onto track, keep myself consistent with, a good 3 month study plan and just, stay consistent, hold myself accountable. Even when Ramadan came, of course, you have priorities. You're going to prioritize certain ibadat over studying and, but making sure that the next day you catch up on whatever you missed or, you do your Anki cards or you do these practice questions. So always staying consistent and having that understanding that, hey, look, this study schedule isn't going to be perfect, but as long as I'm disciplined and consistent with it, I should be okay.
I think I can add on to that. And my situation was a little specific walking into my MCAS prep because I was coming from a business school background and I hadn't done any of the prereqs when I was studying for the MCATs. And I gave myself like 3 to 4 months to study for it. And I think that the number one thing that has helped me the most, and yes, I agree with everything that has been said up to this point about like planning, about structure, about discipline and locking in. And I would like to add, like, mindset is also very important. And sometimes we underestimate how much of it comes down to your mindset. And the reason why I'm saying that mindset is important for the MCAT specifically is that it's a different exam than what we are used to, whether in our undergrads or other things that we've been involved in life. And so it's important to approach it from a place of kind of flexibility, of thinking that, yes, it's a very intimidating exam, but it's still an exam. And it's an exam that you have a lot of people who have done very well in the past in this specific exam. most of the ways that these people have achieved that success is very widely available. We hear about like practice questions, we hear about like prioritizing going through content, but in a targeted way. And then you can adapt those methods to what works for you specifically by putting in the time, putting in the energy, of course, that is super, super important. But yeah, kind of take it as a not a game because some days are good and some days are horrendous when you're studying for the MCAT, but take it as I'm going to experiment with things that I know work, and I'm going to figure out a way that is going to allow me to achieve my target score, if that makes sense.
Well said, Salma. I wanted to add one more thing. I think that's pretty important for the MCAT. I think is more than anything, you need a plan. There's no way you could do anything because if you're studying the wrong way, you're wasting your time. Like to be fair, you have to have a plan how you're going to study because if you're just shooting, you're shooting your gun in an open field. You need to hit the target. So you need a plan more than anything. You need to sit down. You will never be successful until you write down what I'm going to do, how I'm going to tackle this because it's a plan. So you can't wing this exam. It's a humbling exam. Trust me, it is a very humbling exam. So having that like how your weaknesses are because it's specific to each single one of you guys, right? What your weaknesses are, you got to figure that out and you got to create a plan for that. So I know we're going to have more questions in regards to that, but I just wanted to shout that out too.
Yeah, so I think for me, number one thing that was helpful for the MCAT and MCAT prep was definitely tawfiq ilahi, and having the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. And the way that you can do that is, well, you have to have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You can't show up on exam day, the past 2 months you haven't been praying, you haven't been doing anything, and you're like, Ya Allah, 528, Ya Allah, 528, right? So you have to have a good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that has to be consistent before MCAT, after MCAT, everywhere. Unfortunately, something that I've seen a lot of people fall into is that they'll say, you know what, right now I'm studying for the MCAT, so I need to focus on MCAT. And so, praying in the masjid, alhamdulillah, we can pray at home. Ramadan, خلاص, we fasted, خلاص, we don't need to go tarawih. Quran, alhamdulillah, we read every day, قل الله أحد in salah, we don't need to, open the mushaf, I have to open Kaplan. So, give me one second. Sorry about that. So yeah, is that some people during MCAT study they'll really deprioritize religious things and they will sacrifice religious activities to for better MCAT stuff. But I think you really need to strike a balance. So there's some things that are non-negotiables, right? Salah on time, that's a non-negotiable. Doesn't matter how busy your MCAT schedule is, you have to pray. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how busy your thing is. If you're a man, you have to go to Salat al-Jum'ah. It doesn't matter how busy you are. If you're in Ramadan, you have to fast. There's some things that are non-negotiable, so you cannot sacrifice any of those for MCAT. And trust me, when you really place your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you really do that tijara with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will succeed. And it is a guaranteed promise. Doing trade with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only business that 100% success rate. You will never fail. So that was the big thing to help me with MCAT.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to say for that question, or should we move on? Okay, so since we started off on a positive note, my next question is, what is your biggest regret in terms of your MCAT journey? Like, if you were to retake it, what would you do differently? And I'll put it in the chat as well so you guys can read.
I can start with this one. I would say spending too much time on content review and not as much doing practice questions. I feel like majority of us can agree on this.
I agree with that. Like, I spent a lot of time on content review too, because once you start doing the practice question, that's like when you're actually practicing for the MCAT. Also, if you're not so good at cars, like I wasn't, I would say like start early. It's never too early to start, and like keep practicing. You can do like 1 to 2 passages a day. You don't have to do a lot of them. But I would say like start early and then don't rush studying through the MCAT, like take your time.
I think
I can
for
talk
me,
about,
yeah, you can go
okay.
ahead. No, you.
Okay, so I can talk about content review, and this is something that I always say to anyone around me who has ever attempted to take the MCAT. I always tell them, Like it's going to feel really good. You're going to feel really good about yourself when you're going through content review and you're like taking notes and you're like, oh my God, I got this, I remember in this pathway. But ultimately, it's not the best way to prepare for the MCAT because yes, content is a good foundation for anything that you're going to do after that point. But the transition to practice question is going to be like hard no matter what to do and no matter how much time you spend on content review. And the more you build up that anticipation of like, yep, I'm doing great, I'm reviewing all of the content, the more brutal like that transition is going to be because you're going to realize that it's a very different game. And it's also better to go through the main things early on and then move on to practice and start seeing like the actual format that you're going to encounter on the MCATs. And then if there's something that you're not too sure about, something that you're shaky about, you can always go back and do like a targeted like content review. So I think it's a better use of time. And yeah, I think I found my notes like not too long ago from the time where I was studying for the MCAT, and my notes were exhausting. Like I spent too much time there. So yeah, biggest regrets.
Selma said it right about the content review part, and just to more add on to that was content review. I think I spent like a month or a month and a half doing content review because I was like, I don't remember anything. Like I generally do not remember anything from any of my classes. It felt like, wow, I don't know anything, right? So I stopped doing content review because I realized it was so inefficient. When I started doing practice questions, I was able to, but when you do questions, you have to go through every single answer choice, no matter what. If you're not doing content review or you don't feel like you have gaps, you have to go through A, B, C, D, E, and you got to explore every single answer choice and make sure you understand it. Because if not, you're wasting the questions. You want to make sure you do that. That's how we do it for STEP as well. I'm studying for STEP. So you want to make sure you go over A, B, C, D, E, and everything is, taken care of. So, and Jack Weston paragraphs, I think that's very important to do daily. If you have time, just do that once. Jack Weston has a Cars passage every day. Hopefully they still have it. And then I wish I incorporated Anki because I did not incorporate Anki, and I think for Psych Soc it was pretty good. And I use Anki every day now in med school, and I wish I did it earlier. So if anybody needs help with that or anything after, feel free to message me. We can set that up as well. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. If no one else has anything to add, we can move on to the next question. How did you decide when you wanted to take the MCAT? Like early or late in the year? With school, after school, did you take a gap year? Like when did you decide when you wanted to?
I can go first. I decided that I want to take the MCAT as the very first step towards med school. I was in the midst of a career in strategy consulting, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to take the MCAT first thing first. And yeah, it ended up working out for me, alhamdulillah, like by the grace of God. And of course, everything that we do is by His grace only. But yeah, I feel like and this is something that I might recommend for people who know that they like to study independently and that they're comfortable yeah, just like put in like 3 months of their lives and then you're done. But I wanted to get it out of the way as soon as I could. And that's what I did.
I scheduled my MCAT very late. So this is what you should not do. It was in my gap year. I was working as a consultant, and I honestly was not going to apply to med school, right? And I was like, I'm going to wait another year, maybe. I was enjoying my work. I was like, okay, this is fun. And then I talked to my parents, and my parents were like, no, just take the exam. I was studying for it too, of course. But so my parents were like, oh, take the exam. So I took it very, very late. I took it in September. The application's already started in June, by the way. So I took it September, and I went to Toronto actually to take it because all the test dates were. I just wanted to knock out the exam. I was so tired. I was like, I'm not waiting another 2 weeks to take this exam. I want to be done with it. So I'm from Michigan, so I'm Canadian too. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to Toronto. I went to Toronto and I took the exam over there in September, and I threw my applications in October 28th, actually way late in the cycle. So alhamdulillah, everything worked out in the end. So I think taking it earlier is definitely something you should do. So yeah.
Oh yeah, bouncing off what Fuad said, I mean, that was always in my mind. The application season is towards, the end of May, beginning of June. So I want to have my MCAT done by then. So when I signed up for the MCAT in November, funny story actually, initially I signed up to take my MCAT in May. And subhanAllah, the next day, literally the day right after I signed up for my MCAT, my siblings are like, man, what are you doing? That's my high school graduation day. You have to reschedule your exam. So I end up rescheduling my exam. And then 2 weeks later, they tell me that their graduation day got moved. So I was stuck with an exam in June, but alhamdulillah, I was able to prepare myself. I began, in March, locking in and whatnot, and then just being consistent from there. Alhamdulillah, I was satisfied with what I did.
For me, I decided to take the MCAT like based on when I wanted to apply. So I was a junior. So I was like, I'm gonna take the MCAT before anytime before May, and then I'm gonna apply this cycle. So like I ended up delaying it and I scheduled it for March during Ramadan. And I studied for like a month and I was like, I'm not gonna cancel it. I just went and took it. So you could guess how it went. And then I rescheduled it like for a retake in August and I studied for the whole 3 months. And of course, it was easier the second time because I already took it first. And now I'm a senior, and so I'll be taking a gap year and I'll be applying next cycle.
Okay, I think a few people had their hand up. They might have some follow-up questions. Isha, if you want to start.
Yeah, so my question was, sorry, I think my camera like spams every time. So basically my question was, did any of you guys study for the MCAT like along with school? I'm sorry if I missed it, but I did hear a couple of you guys say like you studied with your gap year. So whether you studied it with school or like you were studying while you were working, how did you kind of balance that? And was there any time when you felt like you had to change up your strategy? So whether you felt like when you had a plan, you were studying way too much and it was impacting your school or your work, any experiences like that?
Good question, Isha. I think for me, I kind of realized when I was studying, I realized I had for example, my psych social section should be way higher than it should have been, right? When I did my practice exams. So I realized I really need to start focusing on my psych social because those are easy points considerably, relatively they were easy points. So of course I had to switch up my schedule, and it really, really depends on your practice exams. I think that's like a very huge indicator of where you are. Or for example, if you're getting destroyed by like biochem, you're like just guessing stuff. But one thing I realized, I think that's important, is you got to know when to take your wins and when to take your losses. Those are one of the most, because biochem, you can't know everything. It's just your approach. Honestly, you cannot know everything in the exam. You could have a good idea of what's on the exam, but you got to understand the approach, right? So I think taking those easy points like cars, psych, social are pretty important to take. And then, for example, like I know the other part of your question, of course, was when do you know to switch up your strategy, right? So I think it's important to see those practice exam scores and literally look at it and analyze and be like, what am I getting wrong in the subsections? Am I getting physiology wrong? Am I getting a molecular part, something with biology, cellular biology wrong? Find those things and fix it. And that's the way you switch up your study strategy, right? So, yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think
wish a piece of advice I could give to everyone is like a step-by-step YouTube video tutorial, how to get a 520, but those never work. So, I mean, everyone's schedule is going to be tailored to themselves. I took my MCAT while I was, in the spring semester of my junior year. I was taking classes. Yes, some of them were more so on the lighter end because I finished my pre-med prereqs. But, there were times that, when midterm week hit, I had to prioritize my actual classes that have exams at the current moment and like kind of delay my MCAT studying. But again, it's always about, like Fuad mentioned, you make a schedule and you tweak it and you adjust it. And until you reach a point of, consistency, a point of you being disciplined with yourself, I mean, that's the journey of the MCAT. That's what you're going to learn.
So when I took it over the summer, I was working 2 days a week. So when I was making my MCAT schedule, like I just excluded those days completely from my schedule because, working 8 to 5, and like I knew that I wasn't gonna study for the MCAT after that, like after work. Also, when you're making your schedule, it depends how much time you have, but I would say be realistic. Like there will be days where something's gonna come up and you're gonna be like, I just can't study today. Like it could be anything. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have like enough time, it's like good to have those days just as a backup.
I think adding on to everything that has been said, it's very important that yes, you have a schedule, you try to stick to your schedule as much as you can. But yeah, like Minahil mentioned, be flexible with yourself. If you waste it there, you waste a couple of days, something comes up, like that's the set of cards that you have been dealt. Those are how many resources you have to go through. Make sure that you're flexible, that you distribute those resources or the things that you need to do on the days that you have left. And yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. Schedule time with friends. I know that I kind of did that. I kind of didn't do that myself, but I wish I had, because at the end of your MCAT prep, you're gonna feel very like, because it's a heavy lifting exercise. And at the end of my prep, I felt so tired and exhausted, and I was like, God, I hope I never have to take this exam ever again. And it could have went a lot better if I just had scheduled time for myself and taken breaks throughout my prep.
So I took my exam the summer of 2022. I was doing my like internships. So I was working REU at Rice University. I was also doing a double internship at the same time with NSF online. So it was a pretty busy work schedule. And so like during the week I could only work like during like the afternoons, like once I got off work. And then weekends was full-time study. So I did that for 2 months, and then I had like 2 weeks full-time before the semester started, like full-time study for the MCAT. And then like I'd done very light review before for like cars. But what Fuad said, I think really, like anyone, doesn't matter where you're at, I would say start Jack West seems like daily cars passage, like 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, you do a passage, you start learning how the passages look. Because the passages are pretty weird. Like they talk about random stuff like Guatemalan postmodern Renaissance art. Like stuff that you have no idea about. And you just have to learn how to handle it and push through and grind through and just learn how to read and understand the stuff. So the sooner you do it, I think the better. That's something that I wish I knew about more that I would have done earlier. Like I said, it's 10 minutes a day. Like it's not going to kill you. It's free. In terms of changing schedule, yeah, I agree that I pitfall that I think I fell into was definitely more content review than I should have, which I would have skimmed content and done more questions. And even yeah, for step one study and for step two study, all that it's questions, 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 questions. You don't read a book, you do questions. So highly recommend that you guys switch to like question heavy versus content review. And then I did change up my schedule because I realized I wasn't doing enough full lengths, so I started increasing the amount of full lengths. So having any planning is indispensable, but plans are useless, right? The plan that you probably start with probably is not going to last you too long because your reality is going to hit hard. But planning, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. You're continuously adjusting it, seeing what works, what doesn't work, how we can adapt, how we can adjust. The way I would do it is I would do like questions during the week, and then Saturday I would take a full length exam. If I had enough energy in me, I tried to review it same day. Usually I wouldn't, so I'd have to review it Sunday, and then that was basically the schedule that I had going. And then yeah, of course you adjust it to whatever works for you. And I think yeah, definitely self care is definitely important. If you get burnt out, you're just gonna get burnt out. You're not gonna study anything, right? So like I had a conference in DC, and I went with my best friend, had a blast for like 3 days. The 3 days did not kill me. Like I'm not gonna fail the MCAT because I took 3 days off, but like it made me like big mental refresh, give me a lot of like energy, and like I went back to like studying refreshed. Um, yeah.
Okay, thank you for your response. I think now, since it's getting later, I think let's move on to our Q&A section. So there have been some questions already in the chat, but you guys can feel free to add more. I will start reading off of the earliest one I can see. It reads, what resources should one use for practicing, like for daily practice? And then there's also one about how beneficial Khan Academy is, and what third-party sources are good for practice. So I feel like those are all in the same category. So whoever wants to answer.
I'll just do a very quick plug-in. If you go to the MPM MCAT group chat and you put your email, this great guy, very amazing guy, Bismillah, mashallah, he will send you a Google Drive with a bunch of free things. Has like a bunch of full-length exams, a bunch of, I think, 6,000 questions almost, tons of resources. So it's a very great resource. So I highly recommend that one. That resource saved me a lot of money, a lot of money. I only have to spend money on full-length exams, which is also my recommendation. If you're going to spend money on something, I think full-length exams is the highest yield investment. Questions, if you can get questions for free, you don't need to pay for them. I think that, and then for content review, there's two main series. There's the Kaplan book series and there's the Princeton. Princeton is much more high level. So if you want to get more competitive score, I'd probably go for Princeton. If your school is not that competitive, you can probably go skim by with the Kaplan. Content review, then I think just questions. There's so many different things on that drive. Like McGraw-Hill has like 500 questions for like each subject. There's like Next Step is like 2,000 questions on like science. There's another book that's like 108 correspondence. So there's like tons and tons of. I couldn't finish all those resources when I said for the MCAT. So there's tons of resources there for free. Choose whatever works for you, and I go from there.
I think Muhammad made a good point with all those free resources. So of course, hit him up for that. I think definitely with one thing is make sure you get, this is a must. You must get UWorld. I think UWorld is one of the best things you could use is UWorld. And number two, I would say is of course the study packs from AMC directly, but you want to use that more in the not in the end per se, but usually after you're done with your UWorld questions, you want to start using that more as like realistic practice for your MCAT. But I think do those UWorld questions, do the Jack Weston every day, and then later on starts using those AMC, buy those study packs. Those are very good to do. You can buy them directly from AMC. Those will give you good practice as well. And any times you have any issues, for example, you're doing a UWorld question on, just DNA blotting or, the tools, where if you're really stumped about it, you know how Muhammad mentioned the Princeton books and the Kaplan books, refer to those as well, and you can refresh it if you really need to. You know what I mean? You could look through it and you could use it as a point of reference to understand what you need to know specifically from that question. So, for example, I do that question and I see, okay, I got this wrong. I open the book. I look, okay, this chapter is on blotting. Okay, I can review this. Also, the UWorld explanation is very beautiful. Make sure you prioritize that over anything else, and then look at the book if you really need to go to it. So I think that's something you could do as well. Yeah.
I think I agree with everything that has been said. I personally use the Kaplan books for my content review. I went through it at first very slowly, which was a mistake, but then I started skimming through it and it went a lot faster. I was also referring back to Khan Academy and just like YouTube, like sometimes like Ninja Nerd or other resources. When something would really not make sense to me, I would just go through a video very quickly. And then I did UWorld. I only did the science section personally, but if you have time, you can do more than that. And I also like kept an error log of every mistake that I did on UWorld. I thought it was super, super, super helpful because it forces you to sit through review, which is an uncomfortable part of doing questions. It forces you to sit through it, to read through it, to document exactly what went wrong. For example, if it was something that you didn't know, you can add it to your error log. If it was more of a reasoning issue, you can write, oh, I thought it was meant to be read this way, but it's actually meant to be done this way. And yeah, I did a lot of practice tests, and I really feel like this is what really made my prep, if that makes sense. I took 16 practice tests during my prep, which is probably an overkill. But yeah, and don't touch any of the double AMC stuff, or at least that's my opinion, until you're a little later on in your prep, like Fuad said, because it's the things that are the closest to what the exam actually looks like, and you want to use it when you kind of just want to know where you stand and build up on top of that instead of going through those resources too early on.
Yeah, without repeating what everyone else has said, I want to make sure you guys know make sure you guys look at your school's resources and study centers or academic departments. Sometimes they have these free resources available for you guys. Like when I was studying for the MCAT, my school recently released a program where they had a partnership with Kaplan. So all the resources we had, were free and accessible. So if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you look into your school programs, reach out to any buddy in those like health fields at your school, see if they have study programs available to you guys.
Okay,
Also,
thank
there
you.
was a question about the Khan Academy videos. I did those for content preview, but again, you don't have to watch every single one of them because there's too many. So if you feel like it's something like very basic or you want to skim through, you can do that. So I did that and then I took my own notes, but again, it did take time. But you can just skim through the Khan Academy videos. They're helpful.
Okay, thank you. Side note, guys, if you guys want to join the MPM WhatsApp group, we will be linking it in the chat very soon. So yeah. Moving on, the next question that I am seeing is, do you recommend doing the MCAT first and then pre-req classes or the other way around?
Definitely prereq classes before the MCAT, no question about it. Like amino acids is like 20% of the biochemistry section. Like just take biochemistry before you take the MCAT. So I don't know if anyone has a disagreeing opinion, but that's my opinion.
I kind of did the opposite. I took the MCAT before doing the prereqs, and yes, looking back, definitely, if you have the time, definitely take your prereqs because I've done them after, and then I was like, oh, that's why this and that, and so yeah, it makes sense to do them before. I was just on a time crunch, and so I was like, yeah, I have 2 months or 3 months, might as well study for the exam, but take your prereqs before.
If you're like one or two classes, like if it's an Orgo 2 or like Gen Chem 2, and you feel like you have a good idea of the content, then if you really, really want to take it early, then go ahead. But of course, just like Salman Muhammad said, like usually it's recommended you do it afterwards because it's just much better. I would say that. But if you really, really want to take it and you know your stuff, go ahead, So
Yeah, I'd also agree. Definitely take your prereq classes before. I mean, even when comes time for content review, if you already have these prereq classes done, I mean, just about polishing the information that you already know. Yeah, you may forget a few things, but it's not like you're learning from scratch. I know, Sedma, you had a much different experience, but for my recommendation would definitely be take your prereq classes.
I agree
Okay,
with
next
that. I
question.
also took my prereqs before taking the MCAT, and then especially I think taking biochemistry before taking the MCAT, like it's very important. It's going to help you a lot.
Okay. The next question we have is there a specific Anki deck you used, or what made Anki work for you?
I can talk about this. Personally used like Jack Sparrow, which was a very good deck in my opinion. I loved PS was not like my focus at first, and maybe I should have started reading about PS before. But once I started doing the cards for PS, it went fairly smoothly with Jack Sparrow. So their cards explanation are like longer than other decks, but it also accounts for a good like content review refresh once you go through the cards. And also like I used to suspend all cards and only unsuspend those that I was ready to review. So I wasn't overwhelmed with like opening my Anki app and seeing like 3,000 cards that I needed to do. So that helped too.
I would also
Okay.
take a look at the Miles Down deck as well. I think that's good. I think Jack Sparrow deck is really good, like Salma mentioned. Miles Down deck is pretty good, I think that's pretty good. But like I said, I haven't used the MCAT deck ever, but I wish I used that. But I know a lot of my friends use the Miles Down deck as well, so I think that's good too.
Okay,
A
thank you
deck that I
everyone.
used was the On King deck. That's Anking. That is basically a steroid version of Mile Down. I mean, it was really, really good. For those that are not so familiar with Anki, I recommend you guys watch a YouTube tutorial to at least get the hang of it. Like Sedma was saying, you're gonna have to learn how to suspend and unsuspend cards. That way, you're not just overwhelmed with so much content all at once. And as you're reviewing chapter by chapter, you get to review and refresh on this content as well.
And just to add on with that, we'll definitely try to do something for you guys as well to set up Anki. Just message in the chat. We could even set something up. We could hop on Zoom, and anybody who wants to get it set up, I feel like any of us could hop on and help you set that up as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
This
Okay,
might be a stupid question, I'm sorry, but does that remote come with it or do you just buy it? Or like what is that? The little white remote?
You have to buy that usually separately, the remote that comes with the Anki. Anki is more just like the software, and then you could just put in like you could download the deck and you could just upload it. Because when I downloaded it first, I was like, "What is this?" That's why I just closed that. I never used it in my MCAT time because I was like, "This looks outdated, this and that." But it's the best thing I use in medical school right now. So yeah, just it's a separate thing. Of course, a remote. There's something called the 8-bit dot remote. I think that's good. And you could order that separately and you could connect it in. So if you need help with that, for sure, reach out.
Thank you.
And in my opinion, if you have to choose between like buying the remote or buying like the app on your phone, like I use the phone app a lot. And I bought the remote like a few months ago because I started med school and I don't really use it very much. I only use like or maybe I'm just used to my like just using my laptop. But yeah, if you have you have to choose, definitely get the app. Because when I was commuting, when I was just like sitting through like whatever I would just do my Anki cards on my phone, and it was very easy for me.
Thank you, Sunima.
Of course.
Yeah, especially because I want to say most of us are chronic phone users. I would definitely recommend investing in the app. I mean, even if you're scrolling on Instagram, just like pause, put it to the side, open your Anki app, and get through your cards. It's definitely worth it.
Okay, our next question is someone was asking that they're hoping to complete undergrad in 3 years. Um, and they want to complete the MCAT the next winter. But by then they wouldn't have finished all their prereqs. So what would you guys recommend in that situation?
So I go for it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mohammed.
All right, so I did undergrad in 3 years as well. So I did mine while I was still in school between my junior year and senior year. That's when I did my MCAT. So I had completed my prereqs. So I think that if you finish the chemistry up until biochemistry, then you take psych or soc, then you should be good to go. Because you had already probably taken the bio throughout your time if you have a traditional pre-med major. The benefits of taking it while you're still in school, I think, is that you'll settle in the mindset of studying for school. That's helpful. And if you take it during the summers, which I recommend taking it during the summer, because you're usually free or you usually have a lot more control of your schedule. You're not studying for other things. That's what I would recommend. But for your case, I think it's someone who has to take it the winter after they graduate. It seems like it. So I mean, I think just look at your schedule. I mean, if you want to talk later, we can talk about it, like for like accelerated, because that's something that I did. Feel free to reach out.
Okay, our next question is, could you touch a bit on making a schedule? Like how does one go about creating a study plan with goals in terms of when to achieve certain milestones? And is there an online template for that?
There are plenty of schedules that are available on the internet, but mostly what you want to do, let's say if you have it, because it depends on how much time you have and some of your background. Like, do you need to spend like a little less time on content review because you just finished all of your prereqs and things are still like fresh in your mind? You just need to skim through the main things, or do you need more time to still skim through the main things, but like more in depth, if that makes sense. So yeah, so you want 3 parts in your overall schedule. You want to do content review. That's like a third of your prep. Wouldn't recommend spending more than a month there. And then you want to do questions, practice questions for another month. So UWorld and also like doing practice exam I did like 1 to 2 a week. And then for the last part, which is like the month leading up to your exam, you can take on some of the double AMC material and you can do their full lengths. I think they have 5 or 6 from memory. And then you can also start some of the section banks. But again, it depends on your schedule, your background, and also what are some of the resources that you can acquire as you're going through your prep.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add on? Okay, and then our last question for this segment is, what are your guys' opinions on gap year?
I think gap years are amazing to have as a break. I think not as a break, but like to build more about yourself. I think gap years, you should take it, of course, if you feel like you want to do something else or you have a goal or want to do, like, for example, I worked as a consultant and I do not regret it a single time. I think I learned one of the best skills I can. And I think it made myself have a unique perspective, especially talking for admission cycles and stuff like that. When I had my interviews, I talked a lot about my consulting days, so I talked about how this is something I would always tell, an admissions person. I would tell them, hey, I saw medicine from the financial standpoint. I saw it from the clinical standpoint. Now, I want to be a physician. So that makes me unique. So I think gap years are good years to take if you really want to do that and you want to work on something. But if you don't need to do it, then go ahead and go straight into medical school. But if you can, there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah.
Okay, if no one else has anything to add, Hannah, if you can change the slide. Now we'll be moving on to our breakout room segment. So for the next 10 minutes, each panelist will be in a breakout room and then have a chance to sort of, have a more intimate conversation with our attendees. Please stick around for the end though, because after that, we will be sharing more resources, our link to our resources page. And then we'll also be asking the panelists if they would like to share any of their contact information as well. Hannah, you can explain more about the breakout rooms.
Okay, so each of the panelists is going to have their own breakout rooms, and you guys can choose what breakout room or what breakout room you want to go to. I'm going to start opening the breakout rooms. And if you go to your kind of like sidebar and you go click more, you should see breakout rooms and then choose what breakout room you can go to. If you do not understand those instructions, just send a quick message in the chat. Okay, so my bad, everybody. If you didn't get the chance to,
Could we close the breakout rooms?
yeah, I think we close the breakout rooms. If you didn't have a chance to talk to your the person that you were under, just inshallah they'll shoot you guys. You can shoot them an email. But yeah.
Okay, guys, yeah, sorry about that, but our event is running almost an hour and a half. That is the time I told our panelists, so we don't want to keep them too long. If you guys have any other additional questions, if any of the panelists feel comfortable, please share your email, number, however you like to be contacted in the chat, so that way our participants can reach out to you. And then as for everyone else, please scan our QR code that is being projected right now. That is like our event feedback form, so we can see how we're doing and we can figure out how to improve and host more events that you guys are interested in. And then also, Wala has linked in the chat. Yeah, she's linked our contact info. And then also, we will be sharing the WhatsApp community link so that you guys can join our WhatsApp community, and we'll be sharing resources there as well. So, Wala, if you can reshare the WhatsApp, that would be great.
Then Hadi, I don't know if you want to keep the Zoom open. I'm more than happy to stay a bit longer. If anyone has any questions they want to ask right now, I'm more than happy to stay.
Okay, yeah, we can keep it open.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to stick around and ask questions, more than happy to stick around.
All right. Everyone, please fill out that feedback form. It'll only take you 2 seconds. And I forgot to mention, but it is completely anonymous, so nothing to worry about. Just share your thoughts.
I feel like before anyone or somebody wants to drop off, you guys should definitely give MPM a big, round of applause for organizing this. MashaAllah, you guys did a good job.
I agree. Thank you guys for organizing this. I think this is great for pre-meds as a whole, and I think it's important to do this for other Muslims, especially in times like this. So yeah.
All right, and then Abdurrahman, if you would like to say a few words to close us off, and then if anyone else wants to stick around, you guys are free to do so.
Yeah. So yeah, this comes to the conclusion of the event. First off, a special shout out to Hadia and the event planning team for planning the event and making this all possible. Everyone behind the scenes who helped, as well as everybody else that's part of the Muslim Pre-Meds board who helped contribute today and during the planning process. And then to all of the panelists, thank you so much for contributing to the event today and making this possible. It was great to be enlightened by all you guys and also learn new things. And we're really just grateful that you were able to give your time to the organization and to the event, and just know that all the work you did today was very helpful and that you definitely made an impact, I know, on myself and I'm sure everybody else that was in the Zoom. So coming up next for Muslim Pre-Meds, we are planning to have events monthly, so look forward to the next event, which is in December. So we'll be posting more about that soon, inshallah. But that is it for today. Have a good rest of your Sunday
One
night.
last thing.
Yes, Hadia, please go ahead.
I'm sorry. We have recorded our event. If anybody wants a recording of the event, please send Wala an email. She just linked her email, and we will try to get that to you. Her email is in the chat right now. But yeah, that's it for me. If anyone wants to stick around, you're free to do so.
I know
Thank
I
you
had
again,
more.
everybody. Assalamu alaikum.
left in my breakout room. So if anyone wants to say, I can answer questions for a little bit, inshallah.
Likewise, if anyone has a question, feel free to reach out either through DM or through my number. I put it down there. Just send me a message, inshallah, and we could see what we could do. Yeah.
I'll stick around for a bit as well. So, Rayan, if you want to continue chatting up, we can.
Question for Selma. So, um, I just saw like I just pulled up your Insta and I noticed that you have like a social account, which is like awesome because I'm trying to start one too. So I was wondering if you could just like give me some tips. You don't have to give them on here. I message you, so whenever you get a chance, just let me know.
All right, girly, we can talk.
Please, thank you.
Yo, Salma, I might start one too. So I didn't know we had an influencer with us too. So I see you, Salma.
Not what I am, but okay.
Cinema, do you want me to read the questions in the chat?
That would be very nice. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Hannah.
of course. Marina was saying that many people have, wait, okay, is this a question? Hopefully. Many people that have taken, sorry.
Many
Oh my
people that
God.
have taken the MCAT say that it's more strategy than
Okay,
content.
Hania.
Do you feel that way? Just trying to help you out, Hannah. So do you guys feel that way? If so,
Okay.
I'm sorry. If so,
She
what
was,
strategies did you get out from doing this?
I think what has worked best for me, and yeah, I truly believe that it was more strategies than content, is just to understand what is tested on the MCAT and what are some of the ways that are most likely to achieve you progressing on those areas. And for me, I really believe that the MCAT is about like 2 to 3 things. The first one is to know some of the content. So of course, like doing a foundational content review is important. The second thing is to understand the relationship between different topics. So understand that, okay, so this fits here and this fits there, because subjects are not tested in a vacuum. They're all tested together in some type of way. And you're gonna find like some biochem in your CP, and you're gonna find some chemistry in your BB. So it's very important to kind of understand the relationship between different things, and also to be able to make educated guesses or to anticipate some of the results or outcomes that you would get based on your understanding and based on those relationships that you're able to understand. So yeah, kind of like approaching it from, and this is something that I've said before, like in my breakout room, but approaching it from a place of, let me figure out what works best for me to increase my score, and let me do just that.
okay. Moving on to the second question, Nancy was saying, do you have the other aspect of your, did you have the other aspect of your application, clinical experience, shadowing done before you took the MCAT, or did you work on them after you took the MCAT? So kind of like, did you first finish your MCAT before starting your clinical experience, or did you kind of start your clinical experience and then take your MCAT?
I'm not sure it would be like exactly what I recommend anyone to do, but I kind of did everything at once because my situation was a little different. I was working a full-time job, like a corporate job, when I decided that I wanted to become a doctor, and it wasn't something that I knew before. So I was like, let me quit my job, put like a year or two into this process, and try to do everything at once. So I was working as a medical assistant as I was like studying for the MCAT, and I was also volunteering and trying to get some shadowing hours. Would I recommend that necessarily? I don't think so, because you do want to take the time to do things in a less performative way, if that makes sense. You want to focus on the things that you truly care about, A, and B, that you think also align well with your overall story. So try to plan for your activities and try to make them around something that actually matters to you. Because you can tell when you're talking to someone if they've done things because they would look good on their CV, or because they did it because they actually care about the thing that they did.
I have a follow-up to that if you don't mind. So I recently went to a med school open house, and the speaker there mentioned that for residencies and med school to do activities that are like long lasting, obviously, like we know that. She didn't mention anything about like it has to be towards like a specific interest. So do you think it has to be super specific in your opinion? Like, does it really have to be focused over like all of like one very specific thing? Like, for example, I don't know, like Olympic level, like diving. Like I saw that on someone's resume. So everything that they did was like related to that, which like I feel like it's pretty hard because all of us have very diverse interests. So just kind of shedding some light on that maybe.
That's actually a great question. I think like the best way, or at least like the most optimal way, in my opinion, to go about this is to kind of understand, like go backward. Like you're going to be writing a personal statement that explains why you think you're going to be why do you want to be a doctor, and why do you think you are a strong applicant for that. And kind of like tie in some of the things that truly have drawn you to medicine. So why do you want to be a doctor? Is it because of the ability to like work on educational stuff? Is it like the patient care, like direct patient care? Is it more like innovation parts of medicine where you want to be working on research or other things? So kind of like understanding your story very early on. Why do I want to become a doctor, and why is it important for me to do these activities that are very much aligned to my story at the end of the day? And I kind of did that a little later in my application process, but I truly believe that it's a way that makes you um, do things in a very efficient way, and also it just makes your whole story strong and it seems a little more genuine. But that's just my opinion.
All right. Anybody else had a question for the breakout room we were just in? Anything else? Could be anything.
For who? I was in a breakout room, someone closed it, and then we got kicked out.
Yeah, same. I was in a breakout room, so I was talking to someone.
I'm sorry, guys.
So
Were you?
sorry, guys.
I was like, where did
I'm
everyone go?
Like,
technologically
where'd you guys go?
illiterate.
You're good.
It was Zoom. I didn't realize you had breakout rooms open. I'm so sorry.
I didn't even
Whatever
know. I
you
just
guys
got an
want to talk
invite.
about, let's just talk in here.
My bad.
Yeah.
Medina, do you have any questions for Mohammed? Because I think we're just gonna all stay in here.
Yeah, so I want to ask, someone else asked like physics too, if like they were not able to take it before the MCAT, would it be that significant?
So physics two is like electromagnetism. It's like it's V equals IR. That's a major portion of it. Electrons and stuff. If you're good with physics, you could probably self-teach yourself. If you're not, then probably not. I mean, it all comes back to you. Physics was pretty hard for me. I mean, I like math, but I didn't like physics, so it just depends on you. If it's the only prereq that you don't have, and the schedule works out the way, then you just might have to do it. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add on that for physics too.
Yeah, I think for me, I literally didn't learn anything in physics too. I'll be honest. That was like, I hated that class. Like, I just wanted to knock it out. I don't even know how I got a good grade on it. Like, it was literally a class. It was online too for me. It was like over the pandemic. So I was just knocking it out, you know? So I think for you is like, if that's the only thing you have left, I think I think you could self-study the rest, I think, in my opinion. But of course, Muhammad said as well, he definitely has the resources for physics too. So definitely hit him up for that.
I actually had a question. So I'm hearing a lot of like certain subjects being in the MCAT more than others. So physics 2 is one of them. Like apparently biochemistry is a big one on the MCAT. What else do you guys think we should prioritize?
I mean, you can just read the section names, right? Biology, biochemistry, that's the whole section. They're pretty important. Chemistry and physics, pretty important. They have a whole section about them. Psych and Soc is an entire section. There's other things like for me, I have a hot take. I don't know how much many people agree, but I don't like OChem. OChem, I feel like is not significant enough on the MCAT that I would dedicate too much time to it. I mean, for me, I didn't study OChem at all. I didn't even open the book. I didn't look at it. I just, those questions, I say, Bismillah, do, and then next. I did not like OChem, did not want to have to relearn OChem. I felt it was very, very low yield compared to the other stuff, like memorizing amino acids was like far more high yield than like learning like, SN1 reactions, whatever that was, or all that stuff. So the thing, there's like every book, every like content review book tells you all the content breakdowns, and you can see what's high yield, what's low yield. And like Kaplan will tell you what every chapter, like what percentage of the material is from that chapter, and you can see if it's high yield or not.
Also, just another point, if you do take your score or you take your exam in the next few months and you have questions after you take it about what to do, feel free to reach out to any of us. Um, and yeah, we could walk through you and see where you are and if you should apply or what you should do from there or changing up stuff as well. So feel free to reach out. Hopefully you don't need to, of course, but it's a pretty huge reality for a lot of people. So feel free to reach out.
Sorry, I hope I'm not butchering her name, but I think Liba was saying, what did you guys do during your undergrad that helped you stand out
Wait,
as an
I'm sorry, one moment. I think Aya had a follow-up.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Aya.
I was just gonna ask, like, how much time is too much time? Because I have like 8 months before my exam, and I'm not sure like where to start. Like, I've done some Anki, um, but I'm not sure like how much time is too much time because I do work and volunteer and also have classes. So like, I'm not sure where to start, if that makes sense, besides Anki.
I think starting maybe a light content review might be a good idea. And you mentioned that you were doing a lot of things at the same time, like you had classes and other activities that you were involved in. So I would recommend maybe like studying for 6 months, but that's just my opinion. Because I remember that I studied for 3 months, and I remember like my last month, I was just like, I can't wait to stop like studying for this thing. And I remember that like my last practice exam leading up to my like the last two that I took right before my test dates were like a little lower than what I had a little before. It was a lot of like just MCAT fatigue, if that makes sense. So yeah, definitely like it's good to dedicate enough time, but at the same time, just make sure that you're not spending too much time doing the same things because it might be a little hard on like just your mentals.
I would say for like first step, almost every third party has a free diagnostic half length. I would say take that one first because that gives you just an idea of where do you stand. Like how prepared are you? How much of this stuff do you actually like remember and can recall? How good are you at the at taking the exam? It gives you a nice baseline and you can kind of plan on that. I'd also say look at the schools that you're probably interested in. Look at what MCAT average is there, and like you can kind of get okay, this is where I am, this is where I need to be, and that can give you a realistic expectation of how much work you need to do. I think most everyone agrees, like you start with content review just to like make sure that there's stuff that you've never seen before that you see it. I wouldn't spend too much time on that though. Kind of just skim through, make sure that there's nothing they haven't seen before, and then questions, and then Anki or anything else that you want to do for practice.
So just like a follow-up, I did try some content review, but like I got bored of it really fast, like I'm not gonna lie. I tried the Kaplan books and I just could not force myself to read them. I was so over it. And then I just started Anki, and that's been working pretty well. I think I'm using the Jack Sparrow deck, and that's helped me recall a lot of information. But sitting down and actually like skimming through the books was just not very helpful. So I don't know if that's like a me problem, but I just don't know what else to do besides Anki.
It's definitely not a you problem because I felt the same way when I started going through the content. I was like, okay, wow, that's a lot of things to read through. I think like Muhammad mentioned, it would be good for you to take a practice exam. Yes, it's going to feel like a little intimidating, but yeah, taking a half length is definitely like a good way to go, just to see like how effective your like Anki is, like treating you and just like how it works for your prep, and then you can make a decision, inshallah. But a lot of parts of MCAT prep are unfortunately like daunting and sometimes like a little boring too. But yeah, you just gotta sit through the discomfort, I guess.
Okay, yeah, guys, unless anyone has any other pressing questions or concerns, let's try to wrap up. We've been here for over an hour and a half, so I'm sure the mentors are getting a little tired of us. But if you guys have any other questions in the chat, we have our Instagram linked, and in our Instagram, in our bio, there's also a link to join our WhatsApp. And there you can ask more questions, you can talk to the mentors. And then the mentors have also linked their personal contact information in the chat as well. But yeah, thank you all for coming. If you have not filled out the feedback form, the QR code is linked on the screen.